To you live from Kenya's capital, Nairobi. This is K24 Newscast. Trust you are having yourself a good afternoon. So am I over here. We've compiled for you the latest happenings across the country. My name is Bentura Kombokano. Sign language interpreter will be Walter Asewe. And now let's take a look at what is shaping our broadcast at this hour. Hundreds of passengers are stranded at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport as Kenya Aviation Authority workers begin a strike protesting a deal that would allow Adani Group Holdings to manage the airport. Government pathologist Johansson Odwar is set to begin post-mortem examinations today for the pupils who tragically lost their lives in the Hillside and the Russia fire incident. The Supreme Court continues with a two-day hearing of the government's appeal challenging the nullification of the Finance Act 2023. The program in Jomo Kenyatta International Airport has been thrown into disarray as airport reporter live Brian Amoy, who's over there. Good afternoon, Brian. What's the current situation right now on the ground?
All right, Bentur, of course, you're coming live to you from the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport here in Nairobi with following what has been termed as a strike that has brought business at this particular airport to a standstill. Now, we got here very early in the morning, and what we've been able to witness is what we'll call a go-slow to some extent of operations at this particular airport with some passengers who had booked their flight earlier on trying to get to their destination, but also others have been forced to cancel their flights. Of course, we were in the international departures for other side, and what we are able to experience on that particular side is that the passengers that are traveling via KQ are the ones that were allowed to check in. We are able to speak to others that were using other airlines, including the Air Arabia, who said that they had been asked to cancel their flights rather have been cancelled, and this is due to the strike that is currently ongoing here at the airport. The reasons that some of them told us they were given was because of the fear of those airlines are landing here and not being able to find people that are going to service the plane, and also just to give them fuel. So that becomes a little bit hectic for those planes to be able to land here. So the operations one are the ones that are using KQ. The people that have been using KQ, rather the national courier, are the ones that have been able to check in. And of course, we were there and we were able to see those being called upon to come and queue for them to be able to go through the security check, and also to just get to check in and be able to board that particular flight. On whether it is going to fly, that is a conversation again that we will try and try to establish as we continue following on this particular event that is happening here. Right now we are at the domestic departures, and of course this is the current situation. As you can see, there's just quite a lot of people here, and this has been the situation ever since we got here in the morning. Quite a lot of people queuing in and trying to get checked as far as security is concerned, so that they can be able to check in their flights and be able to go to their destinations. On whether they are going to leave the airport, like I said, that is a conversation that we'll still try to figure out and try to bring our viewers up to speed as far as that is concerned. So this is the case at the moment. It has not changed. What has changed is the number of people that were here when we initially got here. It was quite a huge number, but right now, as we, just around the airport itself, it has significantly reduced, and this is because from what we've been able to gather and what we've been able to understand is because of some of the cancelled flights have forced some of the passengers to be able to go back home. Of course, we were able to speak to one of the passengers that was going to the Middle East, and his flight was cancelled, and he's been told that he's not sure whether it is going to revert back, to come back tomorrow, or he has to wait a little bit longer. What he's been told is that the strike is what is going to determine whether they are going back to, they will be traveling back or they will not be traveling again. And that is the thing, because now that particular individual that we were speaking to was a little bit devastated, because he had plans that going to the Middle East in Dubai. He was supposed to be meeting someone who was leaving the United States. Says that person was depending on him to be able to guide him in Dubai, but since he does not know the place, but this particular inconvenience has thrown that particular plans to, you know, in limbo. He is very devastated as far as his travels are concerned. What we have been able to gather on whether this particular strike is going to come to an end, of course, is dependent on the meeting that is currently ongoing, and that is between the KOTU Secretary General, the government, and of course Kenya Aviation Workers Union, who are currently held up in a meeting at the moment, trying to get to end this particular stalemate that we are currently experiencing, that has brought business to a standstill here at JKIA. Of course, we'll be following up on the developments and updating our viewers as the day progresses. Back to you, Bentura.
Thank you, Brian Amwai, for those updates. Definitely we'll be getting back to you in a subsequent bulletins. And away from that, KOTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli, together with Kenya Airports Workers Union and the government officials, are currently holed up in a meeting to try to solve the current crisis at the JKIA. Speaking to the media before he went into the meeting, Atwoli expressed full support for striking airport workers, criticizing the government for failure to address their grievances in time.
And we are urging our members to remain firm, to remain strong. They have our support. Yes. Until we report back on this particular issue. This was a very, very simple matter, where the assurance to workers in writing that our members will lose no jobs and their jobs will remain protected by both government and as it is required by law. And that assurance alone, we wouldn't have been to where we are. But a lot of arrogance. The Adani issue is as if it is exclusive to management alone and government. And we cannot allow that. We are part and parcel of employment arrangements and workers' arrangements in every sphere of our life. And I have explained to government that the mistake was from the ministry and those people who are handling this particular issue. We wouldn't have been where we are today if they would have convened earlier meeting with all concerned parties. They always say stakeholders. A worker is a stakeholder number one, and nobody holds a stake for a worker, because our stake is owned by a worker. So they would have had a meeting with the workers' organization, which is well led, has proper leadership, structures, and agreed, explained to workers. Somebody would have made presentation to workers. It is in our interest to have a modern airport.
And still on the Adani issue, transport activities for passengers at the Eldoret International Airport remain unavailable as members of the Kenya Aviation Workers Union have joined on the ongoing strike affecting the aviation industry in the country. And now we cross over to Eldoret, where we are joined by reporter Timothy Simwa. Good afternoon, Timothy. Can you tell us the latest development on that side, on the workers joining their colleagues over here in Nairobi?
Well, Bentura, more or less the same. The scenes remain as they were in the morning. Not much in terms of activity, especially for those who are set to travel in different parts of the country and those even who are connecting flights in Nairobi. A group of passengers you can see from our cameras. I know these ones were anticipating to travel sometime in the afternoon, but they seem not to understand what exactly would be happening. They're not very sure whether they'll make it to their flight. Some of them have resorted just to, sitting in groups and discussing on what could be the probable action or next action since the Eldoret International Airport activities has been ground to a halt following the strike by KAU workers or employees rather. And we had an opportunity to speak to some of them, except that this moment we didn't find someone who was willing to speak on camera. Bentura expressing their frustrations that they didn't see this coming. No one told them that this would be happening. So rightly so, many of the passengers who are set to travel woke up in the morning, prepared, checked in at the airport, but only to find most of the workers outside. From on my left, there is a section where, you know, passengers who are flying to different parts will do some waiting before they can check in. Nothing is happening. Families are stranded. We don't know exactly where they are headed to. But just a few minutes ago, there was some semblance of an activity we had on the public address system for those who are traveling to Mombasa or flying to Mombasa rather through one of the airlines being called in. It's an activity or an event that irked some of the workers who were camping outside this, you know, premise, and they expressed their frustration, feeling that it was betrayal of sorts from their colleagues. But when we asked around who was actually facilitating the checking process, they said that a number of police officers, of course, who have been manning the gates, are doing that. And they have walked away. They said they... And at one point they were singing slogans, just, you know, walking around within the check-in area. And one thing came out prominently. They are opposed to the planned lease by the Kenyan government of the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to Indian-based company Adani. Slogans like Yote Yawezekana Bila Adani has been renting the air, and they are vowing not to go back to work until some of the issues they are raising, and like you have actually played in our earlier stories, are addressed sufficiently. So in the meantime, as we talk to you, or we come live to you from the Eldoret International Airport, Bentura, not so much is happening. The others who resorted to going back home, others are still waiting. Word has gone around that in the next 1 hour or so, there'll be a communication coming out from the ongoing meeting, like you mentioned. So we believe that those who are still hanging around hope that something positive is going to come out of the meeting. But at the end of the day, most Kenyans opine that they want to see this come to an end sooner than later, because so much has been affected, especially for those who had a scheduled flight, not just locally and even internationally. Of course, it's a situation that we'll continue to follow closely and see what will be happening or panning out, especially from the part of the government that holds the key to ending this strike. Bentura.
That update. And a similar situation was experienced at the Moi International Airport in Mombasa due to ongoing strike by airport workers protesting the proposed takeover by Adani Group Holdings. Many passengers who arrived early for their flights faced long delays and were left waiting for directions from the airline, with some reporting rescheduled flights and lack of communication. Speaking to K24 TV, some passengers expressed frustrations, calling for the government to reconsider its decision to lease the airport, while others demanded refund to explore alternative travel options.
It's a big mistake for us to sell an airport. That's a question of national security, and I'm against it, and so are the majority of Kenyans. And now we're here to suffer. My flight is delayed. I will miss my wife, and she probably divorces me when I come to Kisumu. That's the result of their action.
Nasikia wametu disappoint sana. Like, kuna watu ambao wanafanya vitu za maana. Waona, wangefanya efforts at least, hata kama ni kungoja ingekuwa kama 1 hour. Lakini hiyo 3 hours na hata tujapata hata anything like a message kama inakanseliwa ama what next.
Nakija kwa nchi atakuja na terms zake na wafanyikazi wake pia. So hofu yetu ni anaweza kuja na terms less than us. Kulingana na historia na venye tumekuwa tukimuona na tabia zake, amekuwa na tabia ya kunyanyasa watu. So we don't expect so much from him. So we'd rather retain our airport, work with the amount of money we are getting, try to fix our own problem. We don't call someone from outside akuja kutengenezea nyumba yako. Ni wewe ujaribu kutengeneza kwako.
Dani mwenyewe all over the world plus his own country watu wanamlilia. sio sisi peke yetu. Wangeleta mwingine mwenye angekuja na tamu zake, hatungekuwa na shida. Shida yenye iko hapa, tumefichiliwa hizi vitu. Sasa hii ndio tumekuja kuambiwa kwamba ati kuna mtu anakuja kuchukua airport. Sisi tujitayarishe. Hata hizo karatasi zenye tumekuja kuziona kwa mtandao.
Well, at this point, we take a breather here at K24 Newscast. I'll see you in a short while. Stay tuned.
Have you watched K24? We would love to hear from you. Send us your feedback on what you like and what you don't like and why. You can use any platform to reach us. We can be reached on Facebook, SMS, Twitter and WhatsApp.